So President Trump is getting very antsy about the fact that he's not getting his wall. And this is some pretty scary news that broke this week. Take a look. President Trump has told officials that he would pardon them if they're convicted of breaking any laws in the rush to complete several hundred miles of border wall along the U.S. Mexico border ahead of the 2020 election, according to the Washington Post. The Post reports that the president has directed aides to aggressively push ahead with construction contracts and seizing private land while glossing over environmental rules, brushing off worries about contracting procedures and eminent domain, giving orders to, quote, take the land. Based on interviews the Post conducted with those involved with the project, Trump has told concerned members of his administration who suggested that some orders are illegal that he would pardon them if getting the barriers constructed quickly would require breaking laws. Quote, don't worry, I'll pardon you, President Trump reportedly told officials in meetings about the wall. So when this story broke, the counterpoint from people within the Trump administration was that, oh no, he was joking when he said that. He wasn't serious. I mean, I wasn't in the room, so I have no idea the tone he used when he said it. It's conceivably possible he was joking. But this also just doesn't sound out of character for Trump. You know, hey, just do it, and then I'll pardon you. This dude has a deep authoritarian instinct, and that's exactly what that would be. Like, yeah, whatever, just break the law, do whatever you want, do the thing I want, and then I'll pardon you because I have that power, so why not? So, assuming this is real, man, this is ugly. This is ugly. Because if you think about it, this is actually one of those instances where you have competing conservative goals. You know, one massive conservative goal is the wall. They love the wall. They love the idea of the wall, and so they'll stop at nothing to get it. But another cornerstone of conservative politics is this idea of like the sanctity of private property. And what he's saying is, I don't care. Just confiscate the private property of people on the border if it gets in the way and just build the wall right through their land. I don't give a fuck. So he's totally violating that principle of conservatism. This idea of like, it's your private property, big government cannot come and take it and do whatever they want with it. And he's saying, no, big government is going to come take it and do whatever we want with it. So this is, it's scary to see. Now, I want to show you a good segment. This is from probably a year or two ago now, but this was actually a good CNN segment that gave a lot of specifics and details about what it would take to build a wall and why this is not like a cut and dry, simple thing to do. So let's take a look and then we'll come back and break it down.
Part of a CNN analysis of 442 lawsuits filed by the U.S. government against American landowners. The property owners either fought to keep their land or tried to get more money than the federal government was offering under eminent domain. In most cases, a CNN analysis found those landowners lost the battle. And a decade later, 93 of the lawsuits are still in court. What did all those landowners get? A total of $78 million, the fair market value to cover 654 miles of current border fence land the government took. But what happened 10 years ago in mostly desolate, dry ranch land will be nothing compared to what's about to take place. President Trump's recent executive order to expand the border wall could stretch into more highly populated areas. It will bisect even more farms, golf courses, resorts, and ranches. Hundreds of miles of wall and hundreds, if not thousands of landowners will be forced to sell their property to the government. Former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Ralph Basham says expect huge, prolonged legal battles.
Particularly in the urban areas, it's going to be very complicated. It's going to be, it's not a popular idea. And like I said, individuals are not happy when, they lose part of their property.
The Riverbend Golf Club and Resort in Brownsville, Texas is bracing for the worst. The fence is already here on the right and the left. If the government decides to finish it, it will cut the resort in two.
70% of our property would be on the south side of the wall. That would affect 15 of our 18 holes of the golf course and over 200 residences.
Jeremy Barnard is the general manager and says residents here will fight for fair value of their property.
I don't think anybody here is just going to hand over the property.
Pat Bell is one of them.
And what happens here means everything to me.
Like almost everyone CNN talked to along this border, Bell is a Trump supporter. But she does not support a wall, especially one that would essentially move her home to the Mexican side of it. She says fences and walls don't work, which is exactly why she plans to fight for her property.
So absolutely, I would go to the people that are in charge, and you hate to say I would get a lawyer, but if it come to that issue and you had to, you would.
Bell, like thousands of other property owners along this border, nervously wait the final design, placement, and eventual legal notice that the U.S. government is coming to take away their land.
Now, I know I'm tough on CNN a lot, and I should be because they usually do a terrible job, but, like, that's what they should be doing. You know, when it comes to news, like, you want to learn stuff. You want to be educated about what's going on and learn, like, finer points and nuances and details of issues and see how complex they are and see what really goes into it and why it's not maybe as simple as some Trump supporters might think, where it's like, just build the wall, man. Just build it. What's the problem? Just build it. Well, now you know that even if you're somebody who's inclined to favor a wall, well, look at this. So the federal government would have to just seize private land, and then there's many instances. They just use one example here, but it's a golf course that's in, you know, southern Texas, right on the border, where like 70% of the course would technically be on the other side of the wall. So all of a sudden, this idea that seems so simple is like, okay, well, what are you going to do? You're going to take every single resort along the border, golf course along the border, private property owner along the border, and you're just going to jack their land and throw them some cash and say, hey, now you're on your own? I mean, that just seems really dumb. I mean, apart from, you know, because many people make a moral argument and an ethical argument about having a wall in the first place, but putting aside the moral and ethical arguments, if you just look at it from almost like an efficiency standpoint or a common sense perspective, you're going to go, there's got to be a better way to try to do what they say they want, which is border security. It's like, no, let's just, you know, take all the private property over, you know, by the border and just jack it and then build the wall and then damn the consequences. Who gives a shit? And it is kind of ironic that a lot of these people are Trump supporters and they're like, oh yeah, I love Trump. Oh shit, he's going to take my house and give me an amount that I think isn't fair for it, and he's going to ruin our entire community, and wow. But I still support him. Oh God. Oh God. He wasn't far off when he said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it and not lose any support. I think that's what he said. That's kind of true. And this is a good example of it right here. But so stop and think about it, man. What Trump is thinking, according to this report, is build the wall, jack the land, and then don't worry, I'll pardon you. So you want to talk about what is fundamentally the opposite of how our system is supposed to work, where it's supposed to be democratic, there's supposed to be checks and balances, there's supposed to be a process, there's supposed to be voting. He's doing what is just textbook authoritarianism. I'm just going to take the land, I'm going to build the wall, and then I'm going to pardon everybody who was involved in doing this obviously illegal activity. And, you know, they're going to shuffle money around that's allocated for federal agencies and just redirect that into building the wall. I mean, this is the point he's at now. Because, you know, one of his main things on the campaign trail when he ran was the wall. And he ain't going to get it through Congress, which you would need to do. So now he's just scrambling. He's like, I don't care. Just build it, and then I'll pardon you. Think about all the problems we really have, and then look at what he's focusing on. Like, we have so many real problems. We have, over 50,000 homeless veterans, probably around 500,000 homeless Americans. We have half of workers in this country making $30,000 a year or less. We have an infrastructure that's absolutely crumbling. There was a time when we had an infrastructure that was the envy of the world. Now our infrastructure is rated D+, according to the Society of Civil Engineers. So we have all these problems. Flint doesn't have clean water. Many other places don't have clean water. And they just let's jack private property and build a wall. A wall that even for the people who say they agree with it, it's not going to have the impact that you think it's going to have. Humans are humans. They're going to find a way under the wall, over the wall, around the wall. Most of the people, undocumented immigrants who come in this country, fly in and then just overstay. But you're going to build a wall. Oh, boy. They live in a fantasy world. And now when the president's not getting his way, he's thinking, yeah, just flat-out authoritarianism. Why not? Let's try that.